Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear friends. I pray you're all well. Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we start now a new surah, Surah Al-An'am. So let's continue with this, inshallah. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. Okay, so Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allah blesses with this surah, Surah Al-An'am. An'am, you could say cattle. So it refers to cows, sheep, camels as well. Why these animals are blessings? So they point towards the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the reason why He deserves to be worshipped. So that's one thing. It's a Meccan surah with 165 verses, and it was they say it was the 57th surah to be revealed. And Surah Al-An'am, let's go back, not there. Surah Al-An'am is one of the, it's a long surah, but it was a surah that was revealed completely, whole, all at once, despite its length. There are some ikhtilafat against around certain verses, but it was revealed as one surah. Now this surah, subhanallah, it's after the Fatiha, it's the first Meccan surah we're covering, and we're going to see a change in the style. So the Meccan surahs, usually the verses the rhetoric in the verses is more powerful. Especially this surah, it's seen as the foundation and the basis in the arguments for the existence and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The surah argues its case very, very strongly. There's many verses starting Huwa alladhi, He is the one, He is the one, He is the one. Meaning, like, it's so obvious. Look, it's just Him. He's the one who does all these things. That's one case. And then the other type of argument where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet, you explain, you say this to them. Right? So He's giving him a direct response. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam could respond to Quraysh. There's a narration, Imam Ibn Kathir at the beginning of his Tafsir mentions a number of narrations, so you can go check those. One of them is that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Surah Al-An'am was revealed all at once, and 70,000 angels came as an entourage for it, and so it just it was a tremendous surah, right, in this regard. So why is it called Al-An'am as well? Another reason is that they used to take cattle and sacrifice them, and one share was for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one share was for the idols. Sometimes they would steal from the share that's supposedly for Allah and give it to the idols, but never would they take from the share of the idols and dedicate it to God. Not that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs this, but it just highlighting their practices. So the theme of the surah, first and foremost, there's a number of broad categories that the surah covers. The theme of the surah, first and foremost, is Tawheed, proving the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and showing us why He deserves worship, Him alone. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we have a clear argument for that in many verses right from the beginning. The second is also prove that Sayyidina Muhammad is the messenger, proving that the whole concept of prophethood and that he's a messenger. And then also the ba'ath, the resurrection, and immediately the surah goes into this as well, proving that. And that was something that the Arabs, fervently denied. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave attention to this topic. And then there's also other topics such as, the blessings of God, that, they're the reasons, one of the reasons why He deserves worship. And we also, in the surah also covers, the ibtila, the tests that Allah gives people. Why? Because He's God, He's the creator, He's the maker, He deserves worship. And He's created us for paradise. So He tests people, right? Who deserves what. So that's the general that's the general surah. And more could be said. I'll be honest with you that the opening of this surah was the way some of the tafsir cover it, like Abu Saud. There's a lot of detailed discussion, and there's some fairly complicated arguments that have been made, and not every surah is like this at the beginning. Anyway, so let's start with the surah after having looked at these matters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alhamdulillahi alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal-arda wa ja'ala adh-dhulumati wan-nur thumma alladhina kafaru bi rabbihim ya'dilun. Wow. So he says, all praise belongs to Allah, who created the heavens and the earth and made darkness and light. Yet the disbelievers set up equals to their Lord in worship. Right? So, what's happening? So, firstly, Alhamdulillahi. All praise belongs to Allah. It is the sole property of Allah. So any manifestation of praise, there are 5 surahs that go into Surah Sabah, Surah Fatir, Surah Al-Kahf, Al-An'am, and Al-Fatiha. These surahs all start with Alhamdulillah for various reasons, which we cover in those surahs. So here he's saying Alhamdulillah in the Fatiha is because it's showing that he deserves all praise, because he creates everyone, he does the tarbiyah, and it's a manifestation of His mercy, right? Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us the reasons why He deserves worship, right? You can glean it from there as well, and here. So praise, which is basically saying something good about someone because of something good that they have done. Or you could also say, as someone, I don't want to go too deep into it, but because of the way someone is, right? Yeah, okay. I'm trying to resist. Okay. But praise because of, so here it's praise for Allah's perfection. And it's saying that anything you see, anything that is done by people, by anyone, the praise within it actually belongs to God. You're intelligent, Allah has given you that intelligence. Someone has shared some, given you money, right, as a gift. Who gave them that money? Who gave them the tawfiq to give you a gift? Everything that happens, Allah deserves the praise, right? So that's one reason why He deserves worship. Another reason why He deserves worship is because He created the heavens and the earth, which we'll talk about. So that point is very clear. So Allah is saying that Alhamdulillahi. That's clarified. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all praise, every bit of it belongs completely to Allah. Right? Why? Because of who He is. Because He has all the qualities of majesty and perfection. And this is something people who don't understand what the concept, what God is, they don't get this, right? So it's not just some being who's powerful or fast or whatever. Rather, it's Allah who has every single perfection and no blemish or imperfection at all in any way, shape or form. So this being because of His very nature deserves worship, and He deserves praise. So just for who He is. So imagine, it's not possible, but imagine there was a group that had not been created. No, I can't use that example. Everyone's been created by God. But being created by God aside, leave that aside. If someone came to know who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, they would recognize instantly He deserves worship, right? And then on top of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves worship because He's created us, right? So He has all the qualities of Kamal, perfection, Jalal, majesty, and Jamal, beauty. All of these qualities and attributes are His. So therefore He deserves all worship, right? So then He says, because of all of these, praise is His. So therefore He deserves worship. And also, He deserves worship, and He deserves all praise, which is a form of worship, because of the tremendous, amazing, indescribable actions that He does. Like to describe the very depth and the very nature of everything He does, all His actions. Just look at the action of creating. How did He create the universe and all the other universes, all the samawat? How did He create them? We have to actually understand the nature of the universe before we can even answer the first question, right? How? Because you need to understand all the aspects of it. Yes, there are certain forces, the gravitational and the other forces, and we can understand the universe on one level of physics, but maybe not on another level yet. Just to understand how everything has happened, is beyond us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done so. His actions are amazing and tremendous. So they're also a reason why He deserves all praise. So He created the samawat and the ard. So we've done this before. So samawat, plural of sky. So one sky which is surrounded by another, which is surrounded by another. Each one compared to the one above is like a ring. You point your finger, thrown in a vast desert. How big is the desert compared to the ring? That's how the outer sky is to the one within it. 7 of those, right? And then He also says earth. So multiple skies because of their number and how vast they are. That's why it's been put first as well. Each sky is so vast and huge, and then the next one above it is even bigger, and the earth is here. So it's mentioned because we're on it, and this is where things are happening, so it's appropriate to mention it. So khalq has a meaning to create according to a specific design. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew what He was going to create, how everything is meant to be. Nothing is random, nothing is chance, right? And if you look at it from this perspective, I was once reading this book on science, and the scientist who wrote it, he said, our existence on earth is based upon a series of highly, highly, highly improbable events. This thing happening and this thing happening, and us being safe from meteors and asteroids that could potentially destroy our life on Earth, and all of these things is just a series of highly improbable events. And if you just look at it from common sense, that if you look at the actual probability of us actually being here on this planet alive, and as a civilization, all the knowledge and everything that we have, all the progress, then in reality the figure is 1 over an astronomically high figure. You might as well say it's practically impossible. It is impossible for it to happen by chance. That's how they're the odds. So the only logical explanation is there's a being who's created us, He's willed it to happen and made everything happen just as He wanted it to happen. So the way we look at it, everything needed to happen that way for us to be here. So creating with knowledge with a particular design. So to make, and then also creating also has this meaning of from nothing into something, right? Bringing something into existence. وَجَعَلَ الظُّلُمَاتِ وَالنُّورِ, and He has made the darknesses and the light. So are these literal darknesses according to the dominant position? Yes, but it doesn't exclude a metaphorical understanding. There's one light, which is the Sharia, which is the way of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and the religion that was revealed to all prophets, and then which people later changed. That is the light, and then all the other ways of deviation that people can go off course on are the various levels of darknesses, and some are worse than others, but they're all darkness, right? And then, but if you're looking at it literally, then you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the dhulumat, puts them first, because that's you could almost say the default state of the universe, darknesses, and then light is something that appears in the darkness. Stars are formed, and then eventually the stars get extinguished, right? And so he's made all these darknesses, and there's layers, like I said, even in the physical, that you go out at night, if the sun, if when the sun sets, there's still light, and that fades eventually until it's nighttime. But then the moon might be out, so it's dark but not quite pitch black. Or if there's no moon, or it can be completely black where you don't see anything. You can't see your hand in front of your face when it's just a few centimeters away. So he made all of these things, the light and the darknesses, and then the light, is what people benefit from, right? And the darknesses, yes, there can be some benefit of the darknesses, but without light, the source of light, which Allah has given us, the main source that we have is the sun, and this is the source of much benefit for humanity. So he's saying he made the heavens and the earth. وَجَعَلَ, he used a different type of word, ja'ala, which it can mean to create, to make, but it can also mean to make something, to design it, and to make it. The focus isn't on bringing it out of non-existence into existence, but just making something as it is according to a particular way, a tasir, you could say, and then strongly, firmly. So you could break down all of existence into light and darkness, right? So and then, so he is perfect. He's got all the qualities of majesty and perfection and beauty. And he does amazing things, like creating the heavens, the samawat, in this tremendous way, and this earth. And then he's made all of these darknesses and the light. And Imam al-Bukhari says, if he took the darknesses to be metaphorical, just the very many ways in which people can go off course, and the light being only one, as I said. And then he says, ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. So it's really important to understand this thumma. So thumma, has various meanings. Here in this case, the meaning is istib'ad, to consider something. In a sense, you could say consider something to be far-fetched, but here it's expressing shock. Allah doesn't feel shock, but rather in the style of the Arabs, in which this Quran is being expressed, it would express shock, disgust, a dislike, and just an expression of recognition that someone's done something that they clearly shouldn't do. It's like saying, to someone, your mother, gave birth to you, she looked after you, she fed you, she clothed you, she cared for you, she cleaned you, and then you go and smack her, you go and kick her, something like this. So that expression of all this has been done, and then the next step, which should be the actual result, on your part, you don't do, but you go and do the very opposite thing, right? Like, how on earth could you do this? And then you also get it from the sound, ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Then those, right, who have disbelieved, right? And their disbelief is because of this action that they're doing next. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ. Let me explain يَعْدِلُونَ first. يَعْدِلُونَ, from what they're doing, they're equating others with him. So like Arabs, when they would ride on a camel, and what they would do is they'd throw like a type of saddle over, which one man can ride on one side and another can ride on the other. So they would be balancing, right? So it's like justice is a balance, isn't it, right? So they would be balancing each other on the camel's back. So if one got off, the other would necessarily come down. So what they're doing is they're equating other things, idols, and stones and sticks and trees and whatever, with God. God, Allah, who created all of these things and did all of these tremendous and amazing things, him, after doing all of this and creating the heavens and the earth and creating light and dark, then they go and treat others as equal to him, saying they deserve worship too. They're going to worship them, sacrificing to them. Really? You're saying that really are the disbelievers actually doing? They're doing this. Like how on earth could they do this? Right? It just shows the extent of it. But what's worse is he says he doesn't say ثم الذين كفروا به يعدلون, that they're equating others to him. He adds بربهم يعدلون, because the Rabb is your master, who deserves your loyalty and devotion. He's also the one that gives you your blessings and takes you from one state to a higher state to a higher state, and all of the gifts and the food and the loved ones that you have, everything comes to you from your Lord. So this Lord, so the normal sequence in Arabic would be ثم الذين كفروا يعدلون بربهم, right? But what does he do? Subhanahu wa ta'ala, he put بِرَبِّهِمْ يَعْدِلُونَ to express further shock here, for us to understand that بِرَبِّهِمْ, this loving Lord who gives them all of these gifts, they go and equate others to him after he's created the heavens and done all of these things, and after him being so perfect, they go and equate others to him. It's just a really powerful verse. And like I said, with the Meccan surahs, we're going to see a lot of strong arguments here. So here the proof is in the actual wording, that how could they, what they've done is wrong, because he is their Rabb, not those idols. They don't do anything for them. So then he says, هو الذي, we're going to see this style a lot. هو الذي, it's him it's him, right? He is the one, right? So هو الذي خلقكم من طين ثم قضى أجله وأجل مسمى عنده ثم أنتم تمترون. So he's saying he is the one, not anyone else. You can understand that, but you can also say, look, him. It's just bringing all the focus on our minds on Allah. Allah is the one. Allah. هو الذي خلقكم من طين. So the focus now comes from creating everything to creating human beings. So he says, he is the one who created you from clay, then appointed a term for your death and another known only to him for your resurrection. Excellent. There's a big difference of opinion on what these two terms are, and so he's going with the dominant position. Yet you continue to doubt. So هو الذي خلقكم من طين, he is the one who's created you from mere clay. Min tinin, this thing left on its own for 1 trillion years wouldn't bring life, wouldn't produce life. You can add whatever chemicals you want to it, you can zap it with lightning, you can do whatever you want, it will not produce life. It's mere clay. So how did he create us from clay? The point is that he created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam from clay, and in creating Adam, our common ancestor, he created all of us. And there's also the blessing that he created Adam in this amazing, tremendous way. Look, we're perfectly suited for our life on this planet. Yes, we get ill. Yes, we die. We can get hurt. But that's all part of the test, right? And he's created us in a way, we are, by the grace of God, the most attractive species. You might find you might find peacocks beautiful and dolphins attractive and whatever, but no one would want to marry a spouse that looks like a peacock or a dolphin, right? Because they have a beauty to them, but it's not the same as human beauty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created beauty in things, and that's also another gift. But he created us from Adam And so we share his fitrah, his default human state, which a state which is a state of recognizing Allah as our God and worshipping Him. But people, via, of course, that they're changed by their parents or their environment, and the way of. So he says, "Huwa alladhi khalaqakum." He created you. Another blessing. Look, He deserves worship. Look, He created you min tinin. And why is He singled them out? It's simply because they it's simply because they reject the resurrection. So he's focusing on now he's focusing on the point that he created you from something that doesn't normally produce life. So if he can do this, then he can recreate and resurrect you. He can resurrect you. هو الذي خلقكم من طين. Each and every one of you, right? So here it's basically it's a further criticism of their resurrection, their rejection of the resurrection, and we're going to see more of this in the coming surah. So recreating them is simple, even by human standards. If you've done something once, you can easily do it again. You can easily recreate and replicate it. So if after seeing this and knowing this, someone still continues to reject the resurrection, it's not possible. As they used to say, it's not possible. But they would admit that Allah created everyone in the first place. So they say, oh, it's not possible for Him to have you lost your brains? Have you lost your mind? You're saying he did it in the first situation when He first created the whole species, and then every individual, and you're saying He can't recreate you, and if He created you from clay, teen, mere clay, He can't recreate you, use your brain. So then he says, ثُمَّ قَضَى أَجْلًا. So He created you, and moreover now, He judged a particular term, meaning each and every single individual has been created with a term. You live a certain amount of time, right? Yes, there are hadith which say that, your lifespan can be altered. And that's part of the Lawh al-Mahfuz that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the Prophet Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam promised his people, if they believed and followed him, Allah would extend their lives. So that's very possible. But ultimately, that term of how long you live is known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a momentous thing. Ajalan, that's why it's indefinite. It's momentous because, if you knew exactly how many days you were going to live, how would your life be? If you knew you've got another year to live, another 6 years, another 8 years, or you're going tomorrow, how would your life be? What would you do differently? Right? So it's something momentous. And وَأَجَلٌ مُسَمًّى عِنْدَهُ, and another tremendous ajal, end term. The word ajal can talk about the end point and the actual duration of a term as well. And so another ajal indahu is with Him, in His presence, right? With Him, meaning when will the day of judgment occur? So the first term is from your birth until your death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this for everyone, when they're born and when they will die. And then from their death until the resurrection, how long they'll be waiting in their graves or in the barzakh. All of that He knows. So both terms, thumma, and then shockingly, right? And moreover, after knowing all of this, shockingly, antum tamtarun, you continue to doubt. Now, this word imtira, it comes from a word that's related to milking, right? Milking an udder. So an udder is rubbed or squeezed, and the milk comes out. So this word for imtira, first is the pattern, is really significant. It has a meaning, iftial here, of choosing. They choose to doubt, because when you squeeze the udder, milk comes out. So it's like you're removing the milk. So when they choose to doubt, and doubt here is like not I'm 50-50 on something, where they have the means to arriving at certainty, but they're choosing not to. Like someone could prove to you, like I once asked an atheist, what if the veil could be lifted and you could be shown God in paradise and hell, and that it's all true, right? What would you do? And he said, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't believe. Why? Because it would mean admitting that I've been wrong all of this time. That's imtira, choosing to remove knowledge, certainty, right? So just like squeezing the udder would remove the milk, this imtira, choosing this doubt, this position where they don't have certainty, is removing that the knowledge of certainty from their minds, from in front of them. It's like they're choosing to avoid it, right? It's like sometimes someone wants to go and do something, but they don't know if it's halal or haram, so they're like, yeah, I'll choose not to ask a scholar about it, I'll just go and do it, right? So this is what they're doing. So this imtira, they're choosing. That's what makes it worse, that Allah created them from teen. He created Adam, your species. He created spouses for us, partners, and He created us all in this amazing way, and gave us this tremendous fitrah to recognize good and accept it and follow it. And after all of that, how on earth could someone just pretend to not care and just ignore it? ثُمَّ أَنْتُمْ, then you. Right, so firstly is talking, هو الذي خلقكم. So in this verse, the iltifat, where he's talking directly to us, it's to really put the argument even stronger than before. So in the first ayah, he's talking about the disbelievers in the third person. Here he addresses the people of Makkah and the disbelievers. He addresses them directly. It makes the argument come across even stronger. And then in the next verse, they refer this continues, and then he says, وَهُوَ اللَّهُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ, and He is the only true God in the heavens and the earth. He knows whatever you conceal and whatever you reveal, and He knows whatever you do. So this is interesting. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, وَهُوَ اللَّهُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ, and if you take it literally, it means He is Allah in the skies and earth, and He knows what you conceal and what you reveal. But the way we understand this is وَهُوَ اللَّهُ, it's as though He's saying He is the one who truly deserves worship. So then your mind goes, okay, cast your minds to this concept. Who truly deserves worship? Yes, there's a one being like that, Allah. So he takes away that word that He truly deserves worship, and then He puts His name there, right, to show that it's only Him. That's why He says that وَهُوَ اللَّهُ, and He is Allah. So what He's saying is He is the true being who deserves worship. No one else deserves worship. How could you worship anyone else? How could you worship Jesus alayhi salatu wasalam, for example, like we looked at in the previous surah, in many arguments, right? He was born, He will die, hasn't died yet, He will die, He has needs as a human being. He's not deserving of worship. Neither is anyone or anything else. There's only one Creator who made everything, keeps everything going. That's the most logical argument, let alone the other proofs. That's just the most logical argument there is, let alone the revelation, right? So that's one way of looking at it. That is saying that if you think that one true God, right, who made all the creation and knows everything about everyone, who is it? Who comes to mind? Well, there's only one, Allah. So that's why He says, instead of saying that He is the only true God, He says He is Allah, right? And fis samawati, in the heavens and the earth, doesn't mean He's in the heavens literally, right? What it means that those beings in the skies and those on earth who do recognize that there's one true God, they know it's him. So because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in a place, right? Is not in a place. So this is talking about the wasf, like, what is his quality? How would you truly describe him? How would you describing he's the one true God, one true being who deserves worship? Or or you could say that you know you could say, like, it says also, someone asked the question, who's worshipped, who really deserves worship in the heavens and the earth? What name do you know him by? Allah. So wahu Allahu, he is that being who you know to be the one who deserves worship. There's a slight subtle nuance in the way. The first one's clearer, but they're both valid ways of understanding. So this name, which is well known for the being who's in the who is the true God, is Allah. So instead of saying the true God, he just says Allah, right? So the first one is from the perspective of what is his quality. He's the one true God, so it's Allah. That's why he's replaced the one true God with Allah. And the second way is that who's the one true God? What do you know him as? Allah. So he is Allah. Right? That's roughly the way you understand it. In the skies and on earth, يَعْلَمُ سِرَّكُمْ وَجَهْرَكُمْ. He knows all of the things that you keep secret, right? Which means if he's creating you and everything you do and he knows everything. So once again, resurrection, like, you'll have to stand before him and he will answer why you did he will ask you why you did what you did, and then you'll have to answer for it, right? يَعْلَمُ سِرَّكُمْ وَجَهْرَكُمْ. He knows the things that your secret and your apparent, literally. Meaning, he knows all the things that you keep secret and all the things that you make apparent. So one of the qualities of him being the creator is that, obviously, if he's made everything, he needs, to make everything, you need to have knowledge of it. So that's why he's further emphasized this point and highlighted it, that even with, let alone everything else, with regards to you, he knows the things that you hide from everyone else. And, for juxtaposition, the very opposite, the things that you make apparent, he knows all of that. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تَكْسِبُونَ. And he knows that which you earn, literally earn, but what it means is he knows the things that you go after, you seek after, the things you do to gain benefit and the things you do to repel harm, and all of these matters in between, all of them, Allah knows them completely. So he is the true God. He's the one who deserves worship. And what more can you say? So he's the one who truly deserves worship. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next verse, وَمَا تَأْتِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ مِّنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ إِلَّا كَانُوا عَنْهَا مُعْرِضِينَ. Whenever a sign comes to them from their Lord, they turn away from it. The way you can understand it is, وَمَا تَأْتِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ مِّنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ إِلَّا. So ma and illa, two negatives make a strong positive, right? So never does a sign come to them. And the ayah is something that points to what's beyond it. It points to the existence and the oneness and the perfection and the greatness and the power and the knowledge and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who of their Rabb, the one who blesses them and keeps them alive and takes them from states to higher states to the desired degrees of perfection. That Lord. So ta'ti, they come quickly. It's as though the ayat, the signs from God, are coming willingly. They want these people to believe. So whenever any of these signs come to these people, وَمَا تَأْتِيهِم مِّنْ آيَةٍ, the first min indicates focus on every single individual verse or sign, you could say. Every single individual sign that willingly, quickly comes to them to guide them which is one of the many, many, many tremendous ayati rabbihim, because of their greatness is because they're great themselves, the signs of God, the miracles and the verses, but they further they acquire even greater significance because of who they are from. So when these tremendous signs come to them, إِلَّا كَانُوا عَنْهَا مُعْرِضِينَ. Wow. So kanu indicates that this is their state, their permanent state. Whenever these signs come, how do these signs find them to be? These people are mu'rideen, turning away, ignoring them. So imagine imagine someone comes to you with a very, very profound message. He comes up to you, he's speaking to you, and what you do is you get your phone out and you start texting, you start talking, and then you speak to someone else, and you do everything you can just to avoid this person and ignore them. And he's saying something really significant and important that you need to know. You're not interested. You're not willing to pay any sort of attention. This is bad enough as it is, but when it's actually the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming, then turning away and ignoring this is just horrible. They deserve a punishment, right? Because they're ignoring the signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends them for their well-being and their guidance and their benefit, but they just want to turn away. They don't care about the messengers who come to them to guide them. They don't care about any of the good that Allah has done for them, right? So forget turning to Him to show gratitude. None of it. They're not interested, right? So what do? They mock the messengers and the signs, which we'll talk about next time, inshallah ta'ala. And once we can't do justice to the Quran especially in the short time. I don't like taking it over 40 minutes, although technically I shouldn't really go over half an hour. I wanted to keep it at half an hour, but it happens. And there's just so much, even in the books of Tafsir, honestly, like I can't even go through what one of them says, like Imam al-Biqai's Tafsir, like what he has in it on this regard. But this is a rough idea, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it and give us the ability to complete the entire Quran. Allah bless you all. We'll stop here and we'll continue from this point next time, inshaAllah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.